We're going live.
Let's do it live.
So how far back do we go? We may or may not be live.
Hopefully you guys can hear us. We were having some technical difficulties, but we are live and broadcasting from the Center for Science and Wonder. And ACAB Radio is brought to you by Food Not Bombs Las Vegas. That's foodnotbombslasvegas.org, and Nevada Cop Block, nvcopblock.org. I'm your host, Jay Leifer, King Ron, Kelly Special K Patterson, and we got a great show for you guys. Lots been going on. Police been killing people, been killing people's dogs left and right. You know, just doing what they do.
Pigs will be pigs.
I'm going to share this out real quick.
All right.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
We should get the sign language interpreter just in case this happens. Because I think we had like 5 minutes of like dead air.
Yeah, we're lip readers. Somebody.
Yeah.
All right, we got a thumbs up. The audio's working.
Oh,
Lip
wonderful.
readers, though, that has to be them.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we get stationed a lip reader at everybody's house. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot's been going on. Some news stories have been going viral. First and foremost, let's pull up this one here. A woman was found dead in Nevada County jail cell. She'd been dead for hours after they finally found her. And one guard had gone and checked on her. And
Yeah, it's not entirely true because that guy walked in and found her and found out she was dead and did that thing where he just backs out of the room.
Yeah, yoinks.
and nothing happened for hours. Yeah, it's crazy. So this was
No, he didn't help. It didn't bother to tell anybody. Just like,
and it was all over traffic. Unpaid traffic tickets is the reason why they locked her up. So she was pulled over for speeding, found out she hadn't paid some past tickets, and ended up taking her in. She let them know, look, I have some health issues. This may become an issue, and they just completely ignored her. I guess she was had an addiction to opiates or heroin. I'm not sure what it was, but she let them know, look, it's bad, and if I'm going to be in a cell, I'm going to be detoxing. And
to be fair, they brought her a mop in case she got the floor dirty.
Yeah, that's all they did is instead of give her medical attention when she threw up, they just brought her a mop and said, here, clean your shit up.
It's a very common thing for them not to provide medical assistance, even when they're informed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll be like, here, fill out a kite, and then.
Yeah, and it could be up to 3 days later. Especially, I know for women, getting hygiene products is also, a very tough thing for them to procure while they're in there. So.
Yeah, just basic stuff: toothpaste, toilet paper. Forget about medical attention.
Yeah.
Just basic things.
You go in, once you're in, they're supposed to be your caretakers. Mm-hmm. They're responsible for your well-being. And to see that they don't really give a fuck, should make everybody think, because any one of us could wind up there for any number of reasons. You have some parking tickets like this, or traffic infractions that you forget about, and it goes to warrant.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very real thing that we should be conscious of.
Yeah. Well, from personal experience, I was only there 4 days, and it was a holding cell, but they come by like once every hour to check on people. So if somebody dies or has a medical issue between that hour and then, the next hour, good luck.
Right.
And when I was in there was a guy who said, I'm diabetic, and asked, can I have some sugar? So in case he, has an issue, he could do it, and they refused. Mm-hmm. And they also take away your medicine. So even like if you have legitimate medicine, if it's not an addiction issue, they'll take away the medicine that you normally use, and you'd have to be, checked into the jail and authorized by the medical staff before they give you the medication. and in many cases, they don't authorize it anyway. But even then, it might be 4 or 5 days before you go see a judge and get put into the actual housing of the jail.
Mhm.
So if you got a serious medical issue, you're lucky if you're not dead.
Yeah.
Right.
And then this cell that she was in was one that had a camera, so it was 24/7 surveillance on her, so they could see what's going on. They got a live feed to her cell, and as she's probably having a seizure,
They watched her
vomiting,
die.
they did nothing, but bring her a mop and say
Right,
clean your
and I
shit
haven't
up.
heard a single thing about this guard that found her basically dead and did nothing,
Yeah.
or whoever was watching that camera being disciplined at all, having any sort of issue with.
I mean, they should get criminal charges. That's like, I don't know,
It's
kind of like
criminal
child
neglect,
neglect. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, how does it work with an inmate? I don't know.
Well, once you're
Unusual
incarcerated,
punishment or,
they are responsible for your health and well-being.
Mhm.
They take on that responsibility.
yeah, I don't know what the
That's-
charge would be, but there needs to be some.
Well, there is a charge for neglect.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
That in
Yeah.
itself, I mean, you can make an argument for
Harsh.
manslaughter, really, because
Yeah.
you're basically causing the death of somebody.
This was a young woman. There's conflicting reports. One report said she was 21, another said she was 27. Either
still
way,
young.
young woman. I mean, basically kidnapped for unpaid parking tickets or who knows, traffic violations, and it cost her her life. So that's the state for you.
Yeah, so because she
It's
didn't pay some fines.
unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. The next case is another local story.
And also,
Oh, whoops.
I believe there's been 5 people within the past 2 years that have died in Reno jails. So it's not an isolated incident.
No, yeah. This happens more than you would think. The other story we wanted to talk about was a lawyer, Stephen Stubbs. Great lawyer out here. He was in the film What Happened in Vegas. If you haven't seen that, check it out. That was an award-winning documentary by Ramsey Dennison. Stephen Stubbs, I don't know if he helped produce it, but he was in it.
He's the executive producer.
Executive
Yeah.
producer.
And didn't he represent you too, Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great lawyer.
Well, I've worked with him through Cop Block, and I followed a lot of his stories as a result of that because I have a relationship with him. And then also, because of that relationship, he's represented me when I got arrested for filming the police 2 years ago, actually 2.5 years ago. And so he's my lawyer. And the thing is, the original case that we covered on Cop Block was more or less the same issue.
Yeah, this isn't the first time he's been arrested for this.
So at that time, he was ordered to leave so that they could question his client and charge with obstruction then. And, when you see it, the first reaction is, oh, fuck again? Are they stupid? But the thing about that is Sergeant at the time, Utomi,
Yeah.
is now a lieutenant who's in charge of an area command. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure if it's a bad career choice to arrest people for bullshit.
No, at least arrest Stubbs.
Yeah. She's been
That might
promoted
be-
twice and put in charge, first of all, put in charge of internal affairs, and then put in charge of an area command. So
Right, arresting
Getting
Stubbs
caught-
is...
getting
Yeah.
caught committing perjury in order to arrest a lawyer for representing his client was a pretty good career move for her, apparently.
Right. I recommend it to all the other police officers,
Go out and arrest
Yes.
Stubbs.
And it,
Right.
it doesn't
This
come out of
is-
their pocket when you get sued, it comes out of our pockets.
Right.
Yeah. So he beat the first charge. I'm sure he'll beat this one too. I mean, what he's doing is telling his client, look, don't talk to the police. That's their Fifth Amendment right. This is the Constitution that these officers have supposedly, well, they have sworn to uphold, but just don't. They just
Right,
don't.
I mean, it's the same advice that we, give to anyone who has to talk to the police. And we always say, always have your lawyer there. And
One of
they had your lawyer there, and your lawyer gets pinched.
Yeah, hopefully
So-
it's a lawyer willing to get arrested for you, like Stubbs.
And
Well,
then
that's
hang
the
out
other-
to dry.
when you read that story, first they sent in the security guard from the hospital.
Mhm.
There was a car accident, and then they took his client to the hospital, and then they decided, they were trying to question her, and he's telling her not to talk, and they decided they wanted to get rid of him. So the first thing they did is they had the security guard from the hospital come walking in there and tell him. And then apparently they put him in handcuffs for an hour out in the hallway. And then told him that they would release him if he left, and he said instead he wanted to talk to a supervisor, so they said, okay, we're going to arrest you then.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable, man.
No, it's what pigs do.
Well, I mean, entirely believable, but yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
No, as the show goes on and the people get to see more and more of these stories, they're not as shocking as they should be, because it's becoming very commonplace for these kind of abuses to run rampant. So
how about a video clip? You think that was shocking? Here's the other viral video going around, making its rounds right now. Cop trying to...
A Fox 5 I-Team investigation prompts a local sheriff to ask state and federal authorities to look into allegations a deputy demanded sexual favors from a suspect.
Now, this case stems from graphic comments secretly recorded by the woman involved.
We could discuss this.
It's a recording now in the hands of investigators.
Yeah, but Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis has a copy of that recording too and joins us now. Randy.
Yeah, Rustin Sine, Monroe County Sheriff's Deputy Bill Miller joined the department in April. He's been a Georgia cop since 2014. But it's this conversation with a woman he had earlier arrested that's now put his career in jeopardy.
You come over here. I ain't gonna jump on your ass, I promise you.
I mean, I'm good. I'm all right.
On a lonely dirt road in Monroe County, an off-duty cop wants a woman he recently arrested to do him a favor. The kind of cop is not supposed to have in
called her
mind.
house
Yeah.
No.
set up a meeting with her, like at a park or something.
No.
And proceeded to basically ask her to give him a blowjob.
Not bad. And he thought he had that advantage on me.
But Ashley Roberts had other ideas.
Hi, Miss Roberts, come on over here with me.
In July, Monroe County
That's so
Deputy Bill
awesome.
Miller
She-
arrested a
Like,
34-year-old
this is the
city
dash.
woman
Yeah, this
for
is the dash
suspected
cam
drunk
from
driving and possession of meth. She made bond, and a few
But she
weeks
was smart
later
enough to
says she
actually
got a
report
call
him.
from Miller to meet her in a parking lot late at night. She told
So
the
I'm
Internal
actually
Affairs
surprised
investigators the
because
same
one of
story
the
she
things
told
they do
us.
here,
Yeah.
Miller put her in his
This
personal
isn't
Dodge
as
Ram
bad as
pickup,
probably, but
handed her
one
a
of the things they'll
Coors
do
Light,
here, if you
and drove
record the
them to
cops,
this dirt trail off Freeman Road.
even
I
when
didn't
they're
think I had
committing a
to record
crime,
anything
they'll turn
until I
around and
got to
charge
that
you
dirt
for
road.
wiretapping.
After I turned on that dirt road, that's when I knew something was fishy.
The
like
recorded
3 or 4
conversation
days.
starts with her pending charges.
Well, I know how to get rid of them.
Well, how is that?
All I gotta do is talk to the DA.
Well, I know that's how you can get rid of them, but me, on the other hand,
That's up to you.
that should have made me think. Ain't no police in their right mind gonna ask for information this time of night.
The whole reason I gave you the beer
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, I gave her beer.
is leverage.
Oh.
Yeah, so
What
he even
level would
admits,
that
like,
be?
I gave you a beer so that I could fucking
Oh,
charge you.
you have a
something.
unit sitting over there.
So what are you trying
And
to
then
do?
she calls his
Blackmail
bluff
me
and
or
he backs
something?
down.
Oh, it ain't work.
You won't?
No.
I'm just messing with you.
Okay.
And then the funny thing is, like,
Messing with you?
No.
What do you think
she
he
threw
was
the beer
doing?
out the
I think he
window,
was
like he
serious.
told her to.
On the 19-minute
So
recording,
when she
Miller
went to the news
alternates
people,
between
they
asking
went out and
Roberts
found
for the
the beer.
names of drug dealers and asking her to at
I'm
least look
gonna
up her
find
shirt.
the presiding officer.
Plus,
Yeah.
that's
Mike,
fucking-
Sorry.
Can you give me a Coke shot?
Sorry.
One book.
Please don't fault me for that.
Yeah, when they're not beating and, you know,
I have.
sexually assaulting their own family, they're going out there shaking down
I'm not that
other
type of girl.
people.
I'm a good girl. I just hang out with the wrong crowd.
Which I'm sure you would need his family.
On the recording, you can hear Miller tell Roberts it's okay to toss
give it
that
up to
Coors Light
this
out the
investigative
passenger
journalist
window.
here.
Then she says he drove them back
in
to
a
her
minute,
car.
he
So that must
goes
mean
and
there's a
confronts
can of
him, like
Coors
he went
Light
out there
somewhere
to where they
along
went,
this
right right
trail.
here.
We started looking
I thought he
and
retired.
check out what we found. That is a can of Coors Light
This is second
He looks a lot
career.
different than he did
with
when
a
he was on the
receipt
fucking
showing the debit card
night at the
number
Opry.
of the person who bought it. Deputy Miller,
We all get old.
I need to ask you about a woman you
calls him
arrested
out,
recently.
right?
Her name is
Right.
Ashley Roberts. Remember her?
No.
You arrested her for drug driving, and then you met with her
It's like, oh, I got somewhere to
just
be.
last week, and
Like
you offered her a chance to get her charges removed if she did sexual
And Darcy's
favors for
good
you.
friend
Not me, buddy.
Well, yeah, we got the recording. Would you like to hear the recording? I've got it right here. You can listen to it.
That same night, Miller's supervisor told him to turn around and surrender his badge and weapon. He's on
Do as
paid
I say,
administrative
not as I
leave until the
do.
state and federal investigations are finished. We gave the department
We
directions
should
to
bring
that
that video
dirt
back. That
road
was a
so
good video.
investigators could
Right.
recover that
Screws
beer
this,
can and any fingerprints that might still be on it.
I did the crime, I do the crime. Yes, I was pulled over for DUI in possession. Yes, I'll take that charge. I'm not doing
She
nothing
does that
to
dirty Diane thing, too.
jeopardize myself.
She had a good breakdown. of
Ashley
where
Roberts
all
was
the
on
weed money,
probation at the time of her
taxes
DUI
from the weed
arrest.
money, where
This
that's
week,
all
a judge
gone.
revoked that probation and sent her
did
back
some
to the
good
Fulton
research on
County
that,
Jail. The deputy who arrested her for that DUI and heard on tape trying to blackmail her is on paid administrative leave while the investigation continues.
Now, Ashley doesn't have a lot of trust in police at this point, and understandably so.
Yeah, that's why she came to us. She didn't know if they would trust her, or at least if they would
Yeah,
believe her.
he's on paid
So they
vacation.
she brought us
See,
the
this is why we
recording.
need headphones so that we
confirmed
can hear
the beer
what
can
they're
that was
saying
out
right
there.
now.
Are they
And,
actually,
they took
is
our
it
phone.
actually?
if you'd like to donate
We had a chance to talk to
to
Deputy.
ACAB Radio,
And there's no.
we'll use all your funds to upgrade our equipment to make it more
I
enjoyable.
thought there was no
Sounds like it,
sound.
No, they're getting the sound, we
And
just can't
Sheriff
hear it.
Can they hear us?
Shackelford, Al
They can
Shackelford
hear
says,
Kelly talking
over the phone at least, that
There was no sound.
and they'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, we were lip reading.
Got him.
We know you'll keep us posted.
I was under the impression
Thanks,
that
Randy.
like it wasn't working for the sound.
All right.
I wouldn't have like
There we
explained
are.
the whole clip. If it,
We're really tech savvy.
We're going to get it one of these days.
that's why I was doing my sign language. You know, like,
Yeah, never ceases to amaze. Next story, another local story. So, I don't know if you guys heard, but a couple days ago, there was a drunk driver that ran a red light and crashed into a woman driving her, what was it, 3-year-old or 8-year-old? And the child died in the car crash. Turns
Yeah.
out the person was drunk. But here you go. Like the very next day, this guy, Metro officer, well, I think he was dispatch.
he's a 911 operator.
Right.
Yeah, so,
He's actually from Henderson, and he's the 5th out of 6 Henderson cops or Henderson police employees that have been busted for DUIs in the past, I think, 2 years.
but then they
There's a
all
thing
go
where it
back to
came out.
work, right? Like, they don't even,
Yeah. And there was
Even
the one
finer.
who he was a canine cop, and he got a flat, and he just kept driving until he got home, and the fucking car caught on fire.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was, I remember that story. That was funny as hell.
yeah.
yeah, so just no accountability. I'm sure this dude will be back at work receiving calls about other drunk people on the road. Hopefully he's not drunk when he's at work.
Yeah. But that's the thing is, it came out that there was 6 different police employees with Henderson
Mm-hmm.
that were still on the payroll, and I think 3 of them have been promoted since then.
Dude, Henderson's a
DUIs.
shit show. Henderson is a shit show
And
right
it was
now.
it was so bad that some of the other Henderson cops actually turned them in, which is fucking. You
Unique.
never see that at Metro, but I mean, it's rare enough for cops at all. But
What about the Henderson constable who was like,
Yep.
I don't know, doing some kind of fraud with money?
he's
Forget the details of it, but he's still working and he's still
Yeah.
controlling all the money.
yeah, I'm not sure the exact number, but I think it was 180,000 that he got caught. He was going to casinos and taking out
Yeah.
fucking advances, and yeah, they set up another bank account so that he could control it after that got shut down, so that he's still in control of the entire payroll of that department.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And meanwhile, the Las Vegas constables got shut down because they were so corrupt. Like, they completely eliminated the whole department.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Henderson's a mess too. It's not just Metro.
Yeah.
I think they just
It's just a
well,
smaller
there was something with
department.
the mayor going on, something funny with the mayor, something with the police chief. They replaced the police chief and his second in command, and the person they brought was
mayor-
somebody who had killed somebody in Texas.
Yeah,
is
the
now-
mayor and the chief of police had to resign for sex crimes or sex harassment.
Yeah,
No.
And that was the one where they hid it, and they tried to make it out like it was just an amicable
yeah.
Yeah.
change, like they just decided they wanted to go somewhere else.
Just so that they could pay them their,
And then the
paid
new
time
chief
off
they
and
hired
all
from
that.
Texas, and she hired her second in command was somebody that she worked with in Texas, who had 2 separate cases where he had shot people. Right, one of them he pulled a gun on somebody during a road rage incident, and the second he murdered somebody during like one of those party bus things where he got into a fight and the guy kicked his ass, so he went back to his car and shot him.
Yep.
Got his
And
gun
people
shot.
in Texas, when they found out that this officer was hired again by none other than Henderson Police Department, they were pissed. They took to the streets and there were protests. Meanwhile, in Henderson, just nobody gives a shit. Nobody even knows, That's why, we posted a story on Cop Block about it, just because people didn't know. It's not being covered in, the RJ or any papers. It's unbelievable. You have to turn to independent media if you want to know what's really going on. It's crazy. So yeah, definitely follow NV Cop Block so we can give you the latest. Keep watching the show. We try to keep you guys up to date with what's going on, not only in this area, but nationally. Yeah. Let's see, what's the other story we got here? Oh, this was crazy from the Free Thought Project. Shout out the Free Thought Project. Matt Agris been doing some, he's been busy this week, man. I read a lot of articles they've been putting out, and it's just one after another. This was a pregnant mom. There was a home invasion. Burglar broke into her house. Tried to cover her mouth so she couldn't scream. Well, she broke free, ran, grabbed her husband's gun, killed the guy, and they ended up letting her off for the murder. But she's going to do years in prison because she has a felony drug conviction for marijuana in her past. So felon in possession of firearm. Yeah. Just unbelievable. A woman protecting her home. She was pregnant at the time, so protecting her unborn baby. And she's going to jail. They're going to separate her from her kid, from her husband, her whole family, just for defending herself.
Well, yeah, and meanwhile, felons should be able to defend themselves also. And the reason that, at least the justification for why they restrict guns from felons is because the idea that they're violent. But somebody who got caught with pot isn't.
Yeah.
Right, it's not a violent
Shouldn't be a
felony.
felon in the first place, but they're certainly not a violent person.
Exactly. This is a result of the drug war right here. This woman's going to go to prison because of the failed drug war, And the main thing I want people to take away from this is it's not a right if it can be taken away. It's a privilege. So people, the Second Amendment, where's all the people that are, so pro Second Amendment when something like this happens? She should have the right to defend herself. If the state can take it away just because she got caught with a plant, it's not a right, it's a privilege.
Now that goes into the whole thing. I mean, if you do your time.
Yep.
If you do your time, there are states where they take away voting rights. You're no longer allowed to vote. You're no longer allowed to own a firearm. If you did something wrong or you went to jail and you got out and did your time, that should clear the slate and allow the people to go back and live a normal life as much as possible. And that's not the case, because you also have to put that on job applications. So that also restricts your ability to work. So there's very few options left a lot of times when you are released. And they talk about recidivism. They do everything they can to force the people back into that
It's a vicious
system.
cycle, yeah.
If I can't rent an apartment, if I can't get a job, what other options, are there available to me? So there's a problem with the system, and you see how the system failed this poor woman. It goes through.
And it's not just a failure; it's a actual concerted effort by
Right.
the
Yeah.
government.
By
if
design.
if they can pin a felony on you, they remove your ability to own a gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's reality, and that's why they push for a lot of things to be felonies.
Yep, but they'll reinstitute some of your rights, like your right to travel Like, I'm a felon, nonviolent felonies on my record. Did my time, got out. I was able to get once I, got off paper, I was able to get my passport back, able to vote again. Not that, voting's really my thing, but yeah, you still can't own a firearm. So if somebody were to break into my house and I were to shoot them with my wife's gun, I'm going to go to prison.
Correct.
And that's not going to be a deterrent for me. I'm still going to kill the motherfucker, but it's just crazy that I would, I didn't know I would go to jail for that. But after reading this article, there are people going to jail for this shit. It's crazy.
Yeah, if you're living with a felon, you have to make sure that they don't have access to a gun. Even if you own a gun, you have to have it locked up so that they don't have access to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Crazy. Was this the one we already did? Oh no, this was another one. So just to give you an idea of how much these police officers are costing taxpayers. I mean, millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. This is the NYPD that's costing taxpayers. I can't really see the amount.
I think it's 584. It's somewhere in the 500 million region.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's just in a few years,
There we go.
Do you know the stats here in town, Kelly? How much their metros costing
I'm not entirely
us?
certain, but I believe it was like 12 million over the course of 4 years, and that was back in 2014. So
Yeah, millions of
and,
dollars.
and there's been Stanley Gibson was a multi-million-dollar payout through the settlement for that. There's been a couple others where it's been millions of dollars. So we're probably like I said, I'm not sure the exact number, but off the top of my head, if I was going to give an estimate, we're probably at about 20 million since about 2010 or so.
That's a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
I mean, that money could have
And
gone
then-
to a lot of.
Could have gone
Yeah,
to our
and then
schools.
they're always crying that they need more for their budget, and they need to raise the taxes in order to hire more cops to go out and harass people and murder them.
And increase the amount of judgments against them.
But meanwhile, between the cops they have sitting at home on paid vacation because they abused somebody, and all of the payments that they made out to people from the settlements after they've abused somebody, that's money that they could easily use to hire decent cops if they actually wanted to hire decent cops. Yeah.
The main thing is that you and I shouldn't be responsible for some cop who kills somebody, right? So if you want change, if you want police accountability, what's got to change is these officers need to pay out of their pocket. You know what I mean?
Well, they
you
were
take away their homes, their cars,
They were
their
talking
money.
about bonds or having insurance. They should carry insurance,
Yeah,
liability
that's a
insurance.
great idea.
It is an idea that's floated around. I think they should disband the police force. No police force, no payments. There's other ways of doing what they claim these police officers are doing. Not that they claim that they protect and serve anymore. That's off the books. They're somehow partners in the community, and we know that's...
Yeah. I think they scrubbed that off their car, too. Didn't they take partners with the community off their car?
I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, pigs will be pigs.
I know that the LAPD went out and specifically took protect and serve off their cars.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, nobody's buying it anymore.
Well, they also took the antennas off of their dash cams.
And, right, that was great. They did do a lot of those tricks. They would open their hoods
And by
stop the
some
block.
weird coincidence,
You know
it
that,
happened
right?
to just be in black and minority neighborhoods
Yes.
that happened.
Crazy. So yeah, there are some ideas that need to be put into action. I don't know, maybe the insurance, have each officer carry insurance. Like if you get in an auto
Stop
accident,
hiring crazy people.
it pays
to
money.
be
Yeah,
armed
better
guns.
training. Yeah, psych evaluations. Because half these
But
motherfuckers
a
are
lot of
crazy.
that's, listen, they do the psych evaluations. They look for a specific type of person. This is,
All right.
it's not that you could fix that. If that's what their system is, then the system's got to be scrapped. I mean,
Yeah. Couldn't
I'm
agree
under
more.
the ACAB belief.
Yeah.
I don't think you
Yes.
can have any.
And it is
cop.
Make a Cat Happy Month.
It is.
For September, so.
That's right. All cats are
all day,
beautiful.
every day.
Let's see, I think
That's
we got
official,
one more.
by the
It
way.
is.
Oh, look at this guy.
That's a real holiday.
Another one from the Free Thought Project. Crazed cop arrested after setting ex-girlfriend's house on fire with children inside. This is
Which there was a
in
Metro
South
lieutenant
Carolina.
who lived in Boulder City who did that also.
Yeah, that's happened a couple times out here.
Yeah, he killed himself and set the house on fire with
Yeah.
his wife and kids in it.
That's
about
usually
3
how it
years ago, I
goes.
think.
Yeah, it's usually a murder-suicide with these
Yeah.
fucking
Well,
cops.
you know, friends don't let friends become cops. The numbers, you know, compared to the general population, abuse, spousal abuse or partner abuse is 4 times the rate of the general public.
That's a reported number.
Yeah, that's
Right,
the ones
and
that
that's
come
reported,
doesn't
it's
even
4
count
times as
the-
high, it's probably much higher.
Yeah, because they're
So-
afraid of retaliation and whatnot. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's just the tip of the iceberg. Most of it's
Absolutely.
going unreported for fear
So-
of, yeah.
There's nothing unusual about, you know, he's not a crazed cop, he's your average cop. He's your average cop, so.
Luckily, the woman, his ex-girlfriend, made it out with their children. But yeah, who knows what's going to happen to this officer. I'm sure he'll get a cushy deal, some misdemeanor, get probation, and then get picked up by, what's that time? Surprise, New Mexico or something like that? Start looking
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it was Superior, actually.
No, surprise, we call it surprise.
I think Surprise was my original theory. I think it's Superior. It's nothing Superior.
I think we should start a GoFundMe to change the name of the town.
Crazy. There was an event we wanted to bring up, wasn't there?
Well,
What's going on?
Well,
there-
also, as long as we're talking about, you know, cops and Metro with their payouts and stuff, like Metro's shot 9 people in the past month.
Oh,
And the vast majority of those have been in the past 3 weeks, not even the past 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're up to 19 people for the year. And they got 4 months left. And the record that they're going for is 25 in a year, which was 2010. That was when Eric Scott was murdered. And it was shortly before Trayvon Cole was murdered. And that was when the FBI came in and pretended to do an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're now basically almost doubled their number of people that they've killed within the past month. And the most recent was a hostage situation where a guy went to rob a super pawn, and they don't say a lot of details about exactly what was going on during the robbery, but they say it was like a takeover robbery. And then the cops got alerted because they probably had one of those, you know, buttons you push that alerts them.
Panic buttons, yeah.
So the guy came out and he's holding one of the employees hostage. And during that time, she broke away from him and somehow grabbed the gun away from him.
And disarmed him.
And ran away. And the cops shot him anyway.
Yeah, they still shot him. And
Right.
that
And
wasn't
then-
enough. What's the
Right.
kicker?
Then while he's on the ground, they sick the dog on him. And their excuse, well, first of all, this is another one of those evolving stories, because Channel 13 said they shot him because he pulled out another gun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
And then I believe it was Channel 8 had the story where they said they thought he was reaching for something that could be a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no report whatsoever of them finding a second gun. So you know that probably never happened at all. Probably when that video comes
So
out.
they
in a
go
couple
to the
days.
script. You
Yeah,
know,
the
they read their
story
script.
evolves, yeah.
So,
But, yeah.
you know, they,
In the press conference,
and-
Metro said that after they shot him, he didn't comply with their orders.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you just fucking shot the dude. Sorry, he can't put his hands
Yeah.
behind his head. You know what I mean? So they sick the dog on him.
But so the thing about that, a lot of people are going to say like, well, that guy was an asshole and, you know, I don't have any sympathy for him. But
Yeah,
they're
he
like
deserved
shooting, first of all, they're not supposed to just shoot people. They're supposed to arrest them and put them on trial. But even if you concede that, like the guy, you know, like, it's like this case where, you know, they shot somebody was holding hostage before, and then the one in California where the guy was going into the Trader Joe's and they shot the woman behind him. Like, that's the situation. Like, they're just firing off rounds, and there's been several cases in Las Vegas itself where bystanders have been shot. So
Yeah,
beyond just
luckily
the
they didn't
legality
kill her,
of it,
yeah.
you know,
yeah.
like the safety of it, just like shooting people. when it's not necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, so when we talk about how officers are handling these shootings, we're not taking the side of the suspect, right? Like, a lot of these recent shootings, they were pieces
Well,
of shit.
we
you
should.
know what
I mean, you're
But-
innocent until proven guilty.
Well, when you're taking a
We've
woman-
learned that the police narrative turns out a lot of times not to be the actual narrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I'm not saying, no, I'm saying, whatever the police say, I hold,
Yeah.
not to be true, I doubt it.
Yeah, that's
because
all we're
I've seen
doing.
them lie time and time again. I've witnessed it myself, I've been victim of it myself,
Mm-hmm.
in dealing with the police. So when you constantly lie and you constantly make up stories, you constantly spin the narrative, why should I believe known liars?
Yeah.
And murderers?
So you
My
have
first
to
reaction,
question everything they do. you know?
When I heard the story, my first reaction was that I was surprised they didn't shoot the woman because she had a
Yeah.
gun after
Yeah.
she took it away from him.
Which has happened many times.
Yeah.
I mean, they've gone into situations, and depending, they've shot the victims or the hostages because of the race,
And-
of the, so,
Well, and the point that I was making earlier about them, shooting bystanders,
yeah.
they were saying that, it was multiple cops, and I think they said they shot 8 shots, but they only hit him once in the chest. So they missed 7 times.
Yeah.
So if there was somebody behind them, they might very well have shot
That's
him.
right, and bullets travel. There's-
Yeah, that's like
Until
that
they hit
shootout
something.
where the cop was, I don't know how many shootings back it was now, but that cop who was shooting in a residential neighborhood through his front windshield, no hands on the driving
Right,
steering
that's a
wheel.
drive-by.
And it ended up at a school.
Yeah, thank God nobody was hit, either from the suspect's bullets or the officer's bullets, so, yeah, when it's unnecessary, the woman disarmed him, that we're not taking the side of the suspect, I'm just calling out how they're operating, you know what I mean? This could be anybody. I mean, they show up to people, the wrong houses all the time, they should have a modus operandi, you know what I mean, where you have to call that into question because they might be dealing with you or a family member. So you can't just let them, oh, well, this guy deserved it. No, they have to have the
Listen,
same set
They're not
regulations
the
for
judge and
every
the jury.
encounter, right?
They're not the judge and the jury.
And the executioner, right? Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and if you want to go deep into it, also, if you know the cops are going to shoot you, or, they have a habit of shooting people, that reduces the amount of willingness that people have to surrender. So
Right.
if you think that they're going to shoot you anyway, you might go out shooting.
Yeah, you have nothing to lose at that point.
Yeah, so things are going to escalate and get worse and worse.
So, do we have the information about the upcoming, I don't know if it's still relevant?
Is it the homeless corridor thing?
Yeah, the homeless corridor thing, is that where we're at?
That's,
Yeah.
I believe it's tomorrow. I believe it's 9 a.m. It's at the City Hall. And my thing, though, if you want to go down and get ignored at City Hall, fine. But if you really, they're passing a ban on sitting or laying down at the homeless corridor, which is the place that they're forcing all the homeless people to go. That's their thing is, when they come and harass the homeless, they're like, well, you could go to the corridor. But now they're turning around and saying, well, we're going to harass you when you're there, too. And, you got to stand up the whole time. I say, get some people together and do a sit-in. They want to make it illegal to sit. Go down there and sit.
Yeah, if this passes, if they vote to pass this, I'll definitely be doing that. 'Cause
I think it's unconstitutional. I've been reading something that just came up where they ruled, Supreme Court ruled, I believe, saying it's unconstitutional.
Because you're targeting a certain segment of the population.
Right. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll take it off the agenda.
Well, the argument against that, though, is even rich people can't sit down at the homeless corridor.
So
I'm sure they're down there all the time.
Yeah. Here's the event info. It is tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Las Vegas City Hall. It's at 495 South Main Street. If you can make it, definitely go. Unfortunately, I have to work, but it's something I would definitely go to. They're going to vote on an ordinance to make it illegal to sit or lie down in the homeless corridor. Please attend to make comment and write to your city council members. Not that Bob Coffin gives a fuck, but
Yeah.
we all know how he's going to vote, right?
That's true.
And so that's the thing is they use the homeless corridor as an excuse to harass homeless people because then they say like you shouldn't be here because you can go there.
Mhm.
And then they're going to use that ordinance as an excuse to harass them while they're there.
Yeah.
So
Look, we're down there all the time. We go hand out snacks and water and stuff, and all the curbs are painted red to prevent people from doing the type of things that we do. You know, we have to park somewhere, so we park on the red curb, and, you know, if there's a unjust law, it's your duty to disobey it, right? So if they're going to make it illegal to provide ice-cold bottled water to people who are living on the streets when it's 115 degrees outside, and people are dropping like flies. Like there were like 7 people that died in 2 days this summer. So if they're going to pass some bullshit like this where you can't sit or lay down on the sidewalk, like that's just fucking crazy. Nobody goes on that street on Four Master unless you're homeless or you're there to provide them with some food or some service, you know what I mean? So there's Catholic Charities right there, there's the courtyard, and that's it. If you don't work at one of those places, nobody goes there. So there was one guy, we had helped set up his tent, and I saw him the next day, and he said, I was like, hey man, where's your tent? He's like, oh, the cops wrote me a ticket for having my tent out too early or some bullshit. So they already got a bunch of these bullshit ordinances where they're ticketing, you know, giving them tickets when they know they can't pay for it, so then it goes to warrant, and then they lock them up. So the main thing is that this is going to cost taxpayers more money because more people are going to be incarcerated. It's like over $130 a day to house somebody at CCDC or city jail. So it's just going to cost you and I. So it just makes no sense to me to pass something like this, but to these rich fucks who are just sitting back, it makes perfect sense, you know what I mean? Make it as difficult as it is, as we can for these individuals.
No, it generates money for the city.
Yeah. Keep the money
So-
flowing. Profits over
and the
people.
reality of those kind of laws is they're designed to give the cops an excuse to harass somebody.
Yeah, so then they can be there all the time.
They have an excuse to make contact with somebody.
Yeah.
And if they don't like somebody, then they really use that as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, an appeals court ruled that it's part of the First Amendment to be able to share food with people in public.
Mm-hmm. That was a
Which-
win for Food Not
Yeah,
Bombs.
which comes
Yep.
from the Orlando case where they arrested the guy who I think was in his 90s.
Yeah, the minister.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. I'm friends with him on Facebook. They arrested him.
You've
They
been
fought him.
invested multiple times.
Yeah,
They must feel
fought
really
him.
great about, you know.
He should. He should feel like a fucking, not all superheroes wear capes. These guys, this group of Food Not Bombs
They
took it
should
to
wear
court
capes,
and
though.
fought it.
Everybody
And,
should wear capes, actually.
I wore a cape today, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Capes should be mandatory. In fact, when I go down to City Hall tomorrow, I'm going to ask them to pass an ordinance that you have to wear a cape.
I'm gonna
in
bring
city
capes
limits.
for our next show. How about that?
Yeah.
I got some at home.
So all heroes will be wearing capes next week.
While we're talking about the homeless corridor, this Saturday, we're hosting a free movie night at the courtyard. So if you want to bring water or toiletries, clothes, food, drink, whatever you want to bring, come join us.
Just don't bring a chair because you can't sit.
And don't lay down, for God's sakes. We're off to jail, you go.
Yeah, standing room only. That's fucked up. We're going to be showing V for Vendetta. It's at 8 o'clock at the courtyard. Check it out. 310 Four Master. If you can't make it, if you want to donate, you can always do that. Go check out the page, Water and Solidarity on Facebook. There's links to donate. Any other events going on, guys?
No, just the usual.
Well,
9/11.
next week on Wednesday, so the day after we do the show next week is September 11th, which will be the day that they do their fake public fact-finding hearing, whatever the
Right.
name is, for Kent Lopera, who's the Metro cop that murdered
Tashi Brown.
Sorry, yeah, Tashi Brown. For some reason, I forgot that for a second. But at the Venetian last year on Mother's Day, that's where they trot out all their excuses for why they, made it justified. And it is actually good to go to those because they do have a lawyer who's allowed to ask questions on behalf of the family. And you can actually submit questions, but anything that has like any actual relevance, they'll just throw in the garbage because the judge gets to decide what questions they'll ask from the audience. And they go through, and anything that like disturbs their narrative, they just throw it right in the garbage. But the thing is, like, you sit there, and so you do get the lawyer who the judge will stop him anytime he says anything that might, get to any kind of actual facts. But they get to ask a couple things here and there. And then the thing is, like, the news will sit and they'll interview the family and that lawyer, and they'll interview different people. And they'll get kind of the family's side of the story, but you never actually see that on the news. They throw that right in the garbage too.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that because then you think like, wow, all this information came out, and then you go home and watch the news and none of it's there.
Yeah.
It's all the police narrative, and it's basically the press release that that Metro
for
put
them.
out.
Yeah. I got one more event. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town for the fact-finding thing. I would have loved to have chalked it up and just made some noise over there. But, yeah, this Saturday there's Las Vegas World Naked Bike Ride. So if you want to ride a bike naked, this Saturday is the day to do it.
Right.
7 p.m. to midnight. Meeting at Harry Mahoney's Erotic Heritage Museum. That's on 3275 Sammy Davis Jr. Drive.
I think they had a pretty good turnout last year, actually.
Last year they did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, this is pretty long.
And Heritage Museum is actually pretty decent if you... No,
Why
I think it's one of those
naked?
things that nobody really knows exists, but it's kind of a cool place.
Yeah, let's get the word out there. We got to get a bunch of people naked riding bikes around. People are doing it. There are thousands of naked rides all over the world. Ride to display the human body without shame. Ride away from dependence on foreign oil and car-dominated roads. Ride for the joy, ride for the silly, ride naked.
Yeah, and to clarify, like, the nakedness is optional, and the level of nakedness is, like,
Right,
up to
also
you.
optional,
So
yeah.
you could actually go out and be dressed if you want.
It also raises awareness to, like, how many people are killed on bikes, you know what I mean? Like, people drive around this town and don't see people on bikes, but if you're naked, drivers will see you.
Yeah,
for sure.
And be distracted.
Well, and they'll crash into other people and say,
Well, at least they'll crash into other cars. This ride is as bare as you dare. Like they said, you can come completely naked, wear a parka. It's up to you.
you should wear a cape.
Definitely have bike lights. Get lit, not drunk. Viewers, please seek consent to photograph others.
No, they could find all that information. Right? Where's the link? We're going to put the link up to that?
Yeah, I'll post it on the ACAB page, the event. Yeah, good stuff. Let me see if there's anything else. I think that's
And if you got
all
one
I
of those
got.
double bikes, you should ride those because they're cool.
Yeah.
With a really tall bike.
Yeah, right.
All right, I think that's it, guys. Stay tuned. We're going to have the Center for Science and Wonder coming on for episode 2. So definitely stick around, check that out. We'll be right back.